Have you ever looked at a German sentence and thought, wait a minute, why does the pronoun keep changing? If so, you have come to the right place. Just like in a movie or a play, pronouns are the actors in a sentence. They play different roles and change their appearance depending on the situation. In this lesson, we will learn who these actors are, how they behave in different cases, and how to use them correctly in German. By the end of this session, you will feel much more confident using pronouns like ich, du, er, sie, es, and sie. Let's begin our journey into the world of German pronouns. German pronouns are not fixed. They change their form according to their grammatical role or case. This is called the German pronoun matrix. There are three main cases. Nominative. This is the subject case. It answers who or what is doing the action. Examples: ich, du, er, sie, es, wir, ihr, sie. Accusative. This is the direct object case. It tells us whom or what is directly receiving the action. Examples: mich, dich, ihn, sie, es, uns, euch. Dative. This is the indirect object case. It shows to whom or for whom something is done. Examples: mir, dir, ihm, ihr, uns, euch, ihnen. Pronouns also change depending on whether we are using formal or informal you, and some verbs always need the dative case. Don't worry if it looks confusing right now. We will practice these changes step by step with many examples. Let's understand what a personal pronoun actually is. A personal pronoun is like a stand-in actor. It takes the place of a noun, that is, a person, a thing, or even a whole phrase, so that we don't have to keep repeating the same word again and again. For example, instead of saying Sarah will bring a quiche every time, we can say she will bring a quiche. This makes our sentences shorter, smoother, and more natural. In both English and German, personal pronouns work in the same basic way. They stand in for nouns to avoid repetition. Today we will learn all the German personal pronouns and how to use them properly. Now let's look at the complete list of personal pronouns in German. We divide them by person, who is speaking, and by number, singular or plural. In the first person, ich means I when we talk about ourselves, and wir means we when we talk about ourselves and others. In the second person, we have du for informal you, that is used with friends, family, or people of the same age, and ihr for informal you when speaking to more than one person. For formal situations, that is, dealing with strangers, elders, or in official settings, we use sie with capital S for both singular and plural. In the third person, we have er for he, sie for she, is for it, and sie with a small s for they when talking about more than one person or thing. Pay special attention to z with capital S and z with small s. They are spelled the same, but one has a capital letter and the other doesn't. This small difference is very important in German. As I said before, pronouns are actors. Their case is their role, and they change their costume to match. Now let's understand the nominative case. This is the most basic form of pronouns. The base actors. In the nominative case, pronouns act as the subject of the sentence, the one doing the action. Look at the chart. For singular, we have ich for I, du for informal you, and the third person, er, which means he, sie, which means she, and es, which means it. For plurals, we have wir, for we, ear for informal you for a group, and z for they. There is also a special U matrix. We use do and ear with friends, family, and children. That is informal communication. But we use Z with capital S with strangers, teachers, elders, or informal situations. Remember, Z always starts with a capital letter, whether it is singular or plural. These are the basic forms we use when the pronoun is the subject of the sentence. Let's see how these pronoun actors work with verbs. In German, the pronoun and the verb must match perfectly, just like puzzle pieces. This process is called conjugation. The formula is simple. Pronoun plus verb root plus ending results in the correct verb form. For regular verbs, here are the endings. Ich ends in E. For example, ich mache. Du ends with st. Example, du magst. rzs ends with t. For example, macht. Wir ends with en. For example, wir machen. Ihr ends with t. Example, ihr macht. Sie ends with en. Example, sie machen. This ending is very important in German. Once you know the pronoun, you automatically know which ending the verb needs. We will practice this a lot in the coming lessons. Now, let's talk about something very interesting in German, the gender funnel. In German, the third person pronouns sie, and es are not based on biological gender, that is male or female, but they are based on the grammatical gender. Every noun in German has a gender, that is masculine, feminine, or neuter. Masculine nouns, for example, der Mann or der Hund, use er. For example, ist schön. Feminine nouns, for example, die Frau or die Brille, use sie. For example, sie ist schön. Neuter nouns, for example, das Kind or das Sofa, use es. For example, es ist schön. This is like a funnel. All masculine nouns become all feminine nouns become sie, and all neuter nouns become is. Even objects and things get these pronouns. This is one of the most unique and important features of German grammar. We are now entering the world of cases. Think of cases as different costumes that pronouns wear depending on their job in the sentence. There are three main costumes. Nominative, the doer, denoted by the blue costume. This is the subject, the person throwing the ball. For example, ich werfe den Ball. Accusative, or the target, denoted by the red costume. This is the direct object, the thing being thrown. For example, ich werfe den Ball. The receiver, that is dative, which we will denote by the green costume. This is the indirect object, the person who receives something. For example, ich gebe dir den Ball. Just like actors change costumes for different roles, pronouns change their form according to the case. Now, we come to a very important question in German. When do we use the accusative case and when do we use the dative case? Look at these two examples. First sentence, wir sehen den Mann, which means we see the man. Here, den Mann is the direct object. We are directly seeing him, so it is accusative. But in the second sentence, wir helfen dem Mann, which means we help the man. The man is receiving the help, so it becomes dem Mann in the dative case. Many students get confused between these two. Today we will learn clear rules so you can easily decide which case to use. Let's practice the accusative case with an example. Look at this sentence. Ich sehe den Mann, which means I see the man. When we replace den Mann with the pronoun, it becomes ich sehe ihn, which means I see him. In is the accusative form of er. This is the pronoun we use when the person or thing is the direct object of the action. Notice how the pronoun changes its form from er to in when it becomes the target of the verb sehen, which means to see. Here is the complete list of accusative case forms, also called the target forms. When a pronoun is the direct object of the sentence, it changes like this. Ich becomes mich. Du becomes dich. Sie remains sie. Er becomes in. Sie remains sie. Is remains is. Wir becomes uns. Ihr becomes euch. Sie remains sie. Here we have some examples. Ich sehe den Mann becomes ich sehe ihn. Er kauft das Auto becomes er kauft es. Magst du sie means do you like her? These are the red costume versions of the pronouns we use when they are the direct objects. Now let's do a small practice together. How would you say in German, the flowers are for you? Think for a moment. In this sentence, you is not the subject and it is not directly receiving an action like seeing or buying. It comes after the word for. The correct answer is Die Blumen sind für dich. Here, dich is the accusative form of du. But why? Because the preposition für, which means for, always requires the accusative case. This is a very important rule in German. Whenever you see für, the pronoun or the noun after it must be in the accusative form. So we say für dich or für mich or für ihn. Certain prepositions always trigger the accusative case. We call them the red filter prepositions. The most common ones are durch, für, gegen, ohne, and If a pronoun comes after any of these words, it must wear its accusative or the red costume. For example, ohne euch möchte ich nicht fahren, which means I wouldn't like to go without you. Here, euch is the accusative form of ihr. Memorize these 5 prepositions and you will avoid any mistakes. Now, let's learn the dative case forms. These are the receiver or green costume pronouns. We use the dative case when the pronoun is the indirect object, that is, the person or thing receiving something. Here is the complete list. Ich becomes mir. Du becomes dir. Sie becomes ihnen. Er becomes ihm. Sie becomes ihr. Is becomes im. Wir becomes uns. Ihr becomes euch. Sie becomes ihnen. Notice that the uns and euch are the same in both accusative and dative. For example, sie zeigt dem Mann das Buch becomes sie zeigt ihm das Buch, which means she shows him the book. dative form of er because the man is receiving the book. Let's see the dative case in action with a beautiful example. Look at this sentence. Ja, ich schenke ihr Blumen, which means yes, I am giving her flowers. Here, ihr is the dative form of sie. The woman on the right is receiving the flowers, so she is the indirect object. We do not say ich schenke sie Blumen. That would be wrong. We must use ihr because the flowers are being given to her. This is a classical example of how the dative works when someone receives something. Some special verbs and prepositions always force the dative case. We call them dative triggers. Some of these important dative verbs are danken, which means to thank, helfen, which means to help, folgen, which means to follow. Some of the common dative prepositions: außer, aus, bei, gegenüber, mit, nach, seit, von, zu. Here are some examples. Ich helfe dem Mann becomes ich helfe ihm. Ich helfe ihm. Another example. Arbeitet mit Frau Schmidt becomes arbeitet mit ihr. Whenever you see these verb forms or prepositions, you must use the dative pronoun. You actually use the dative case every day without even noticing. Here are some very common everyday phrases. Wie geht es dir? Which means, how are you? Es geht mir gut, which means I am well. Es tut mir leid, which means I am sorry. Meine Nase tut mir weh, which means my nose hurts. Mir ist kalt, which means I am cold. These phrases are used all the time in real conversations. Practicing them will help you sound natural in German. This is the master cheat sheet, your complete overview of all personal pronouns in one table. It shows nominative, that is the subject, accusative, that is the direct object, and dative, that is the indirect object forms for every person. Keep this table handy while practicing. You can see patterns clearly. For example, in for masculine accusative or ihr for feminine dative, and how uns and euch stay the same in accusative and dative. Let's do a knowledge check together. We need to decide whether to use the base, that is the nominative, or target, that is the accusative pronoun. First example. Kaufst du das Buch? Ja, ich kaufe es. Kennst du den Mann? Ja, ich kenne ihn. Liebst du mich? Ja, ich liebe dich. Möchtest du die Pralinen? Ja, ich möchte sie. Now, knowledge check 2. The gender trap. Replace the underlined words with the correct pronouns based on the grammatical genders. First example. Das Auto ist neu. Es ist neu. Die Blumen waren teuer. Sie waren teuer. Oliver kommt aus Bremen. Kommt aus Bremen. Den Laptop. Ich habe ihn gekauft. Ich habe ihn gekauft. Knowledge check 3. The receiver. Fill in the correct dative pronoun. Hilfst du den Kindern? Ja, ich helfe ihnen. gehört das Ihnen? Ja, es gehört mir. Was bringst du denn Anna und Peter mit? Ich kaufe ihnen eine Flasche Wein. Schreibst du uns aus dem Urlaub? Ja, ich schicke euch eine Postkarte. We have reached the end of our lesson. Remember the most important thing. Your pronouns costume always depends on its role in the sentence. Is it the doer, the target, or the receiver? Now you know the actors of German grammar. Keep practicing with real sentences and soon using ich, du, er, sie, es will become natural. Cheers!